Good morning, or whatever time it is that you come to this video. This is going to be a brief telling of my spiritual journey, of how it is that I came to be working as an energy balancing practitioner, medium, and mediator. I offer holistic intuitive guidance. I'm here to help the earth and its inhabitants heal. I am here to help people become self-actualized in their own divine right and gifts, because you came here as you are, and it just takes some doing to get to know yourself and how to best work with what you got. I have truly been working on this since I was a little girl. I came in, luckily, knowing exactly what I wanted to be, even if it wasn't supported by my family and the culture I was in, the time, I ruffled some feathers and rattled some chains that people weren't ready to acknowledge or allow for. But I was determined nonetheless. And I seriously, I was born in the late 70s in California. My family that I came into was a hot mess, as a lot of people's families can be stated that way. So I came into a family that was suffering addiction and mental illnesses on both sides and in different ways. And it was something where I recognized very young that I knew how to talk to people. I could calm them down. I could get them, well, they would just tell me things, and I would just sit there and, not judge them and help them. And as a small person, I wasn't even cognizant. It just happened. And then later in life, there were times where I would make people uncomfortable because I would know things that I shouldn't or couldn't. And I learned to kind of hide it a bit. But again, I was in a very volatile, uncertain terrain, and I had to be a mediator. I had to keep myself safe. I had to survive and cope in an environment that was very unpredictable. So it was through tapping into my intuition and those gifts that helped me not lose my ever-loving shit. Pardon my French. So, some people are lucky and get to go to psychic institutes or places where they get trained. Others of us are in the thick of it, in the trenches, and have to keep ourselves together. And luckily, if you allow for it and give it space, there is parts of you that whisper at first. And if you build that confidence and that relationship with it, it develops further. First, for me, I started with crystals, really got into crystals. Then, started really getting into fairy tales and learning about different things out there. I wished super hard that it would become known that I was in fact a changeling and that I could be whisked away from my crazy ass family. And, it was funny, and it was also tricky because the family in which I grew up in, it was all on the surface very well played and well kept together and functional. And then underneath it, there was a tension and an illness that had not been brought to the surface. So then, personally, being an intuitive empath, knowing more than meets the eye, I started personally, along with trying to astrally project in middle school, I also started reading psychological studies and really learning as much as I could about psychological dysfunction. I myself started going to see therapists because my parents were unnerved when I was 4. And it's funny because as much as I've always tried to keep a lot of my gifts to myself so that people wouldn't perceive me as being batshit crazy, every single time I've gone to see a therapist, except for one point in my life, they all told me how amazingly well-adjusted I was, considering, and how they didn't really need to help me because I was good at what I was doing. So I was just like, but I never believed it. I never did. I was like, they're wrong. I mean, I'm a mess. But no, it was just, we're in a messy world. And if you don't take the time to figure out what you're doing, you're just going willy-nilly. And of course, you're going to feel unmoored, untethered, imbalanced. A lot of us grow up in a world where everyone tells us that we're doing it wrong, or that's not suitable, or this or that. And like, a lot of us have grown up in societies where we're led to think that we're supposed to be compartmentalized and yada, yada, yada. So it's just that we're multifaceted beings. I truly think we're all empathic. We're all intuitive. It's just a matter of taking time and getting to know that aspect of yourself, not diminishing it, not dismissing it. Again, these things are innate and we take them for granted. Personally, these are my thoughts. For example, artists of all types, they tend to say a lot of times that they'll have a vision in their mind and see it and then put it into action. Musicians sometimes will hear that strain beforehand, hear that rhythm, hear that sound in their mind beforehand, and then put it into action. So let's talk about some psychic abilities. Clairvoyance, clear vision. Artists, tell me you don't feel that. And then musicians, clairaudience, clear hearing. Sometimes it's just, sometimes that internal dialogue, or that you just hear something in your mind and, okay, good. I hear you. I appreciate that information. I'll take it into consideration. How does it apply? These are the dialogues I've learned to utilize, because I was a hairstylist for many years. And in my early 20s, I had come to Richmond, Virginia. My parents were insistent upon me going to college. I told them I wanted to work for a while and figure out what I wanted to do. They weren't hearing it. Had to go to college. Had to. It's funny because my dad really wanted me to be a teacher. And at the time I was like, oh, hell no. The politics involved in that are not at all for me. No way in hell do I want to teach people who don't want to learn. fast forward. Now I really want to teach people. It's funny, my dad knew, but I don't want to teach people who don't want to learn. I want to teach people who do want to learn how to be the best version of themselves for themselves and the environment they are a part of. You know, I became a Reiki teaching master, very determined to get that certification because I wanted to be a teacher. And then I get to the end of it, and I don't necessarily want to teach Reiki per se. I want to teach each person how to be the authority of themselves and their energy, how to maintain and self-soothe themselves, you know, and if they want to become a practitioner, then we can go further. But, you know, I like empowering people. I like helping people feel more confident, more comfortable in their skin. I like people, because they're so multifaceted and there's so many different types and variations that are to be celebrated and applauded, valued, that to me, if we help build each other up and create vitality, we all win. Just saying. Just saying. Isn't that the vibe that we want to go forward in instead of tearing each other apart in conflict? To me, I want to mend. I want to mend the world, situations, circumstances. I want it to be this like beautiful, crazy quilt. If you don't know what a crazy quilt is, I highly suggest you look them up. I personally love folk art and these old traditions that really are more than just art. They're connectivity. They're building togetherness. And crazy quilts, there are no rules. You just put it all together beautifully as you feel inspired to. And to me, that's what the world and all of our ley lines and meridians, that web of life, I want to put love into all of that and make it one giant crazy quilt where everyone that's on there is this little bright point of awesomeness. When you look up at the stars, personally, I mean, sure, there are my favorite constellations or ones that I'm excited to see. However, when I look at the whole of it, I love it all. I love the whole cosmos, not just one quadrant. And then again, when I look at my ancestry and the 4,000 plus people, I love them all for who they are and how they got me here. And the connection. You know, it's not that I pick and choose like, oh, well, I got more of this side of the family, so I really like this part better, or these people better suit my taste, so I like them better, and these people won't. You know, when you create that conflict in yourself, it's gonna show up as disruptive. It just is. So it, you know, personally, heal yourself, heal the world has great expansive implications. Anyway, so yeah, that's where start by listening more to yourself. I personally, being claircognizant, which is clear thinking, information would just come in. And then because I would doubt myself, I would start fact checking myself, because like, how the hell do you know that? Like, who would believe you? And it's just that, okay, we'll turn it into a game, you know, because that builds, and that's why I do my workshops and things in that manner, where it's like, if we make it fun and make it not have a lot of pressure, then it becomes something where it grows easier in a more joyful manner. And to me, you're learning so much more than it being like, I must learn it this way. It must be like this. Come on. No, like in the 90s, we learned that we all have different learning styles. And then, because we had to compete with each other, we had the SOLs come into play. And then all of that went to hell in a handbasket, and we had to all be just the same, at least where I grew up in the States, right? Like we had to all of a sudden be equally good at everything the same way, so that we could all compete to get to college. To, I saw, when I went to college briefly, I saw all these people funneling themselves into careers, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. You all can't be graphic designers. You all can't be lawyers. And then fast forward, they couldn't all get jobs. There are plenty of lawyers that had to be bartenders. And I was like, yeah, the market cannot sustain us all being the same thing. Nor should it. Nor should we want to. So that's where, luckily, we have seen a great amount of diversification because we've had to. And unfortunately, that's how we tend to learn. It's when we're in that vice and there's nothing else to do that we finally are like, well, let me look at something else as a possibility. Okay. So that's where, hi, I'd like to help you get to know yourself better so that you don't have to waste your time. That's personally my impetus of wanting to do these intuitive workshops around town, doing my different events that are coming up, because I really want to help educate people to the value of your intuitive abilities and how they really are there to serve you. Your emotions are not to be vilified or shoved down. They're one of the linking points to your intuition, along with nurturing and feeding your inner child. That's another gateway to your intuition. The things that bring us joy, the things that light us up, are our clues, alongside the things that repulse us, that make us uncomfortable. I'm not saying go willy-nilly into things that make you feel cautious. No, like, heed your discernment, be pragmatic, practical, and intuitive at all times. Mind, body, and soul, we use it all. We don't just like, I'm only gonna use this part of myself today. No, stop that. No, use it all. And in a sense, use it before you lose it, because if you just numb yourself down to parts of yourself, they're gonna get rusty, right? Anyway, preachy, but I'm a bit fired up. Mars is the ruler of Aries. We're going into this full moon in Aries, and it is fiery, it's feisty, it's passionate, it can be a little confrontational. It's like going through the gauntlet a bit. But it also is there to build that confidence and create that traction and forward movement. It's funny. I'll give you a little story of my own life. Recently my circumstances had gotten a little financially strained. So then I was compelled to feel like, okay, not giving up this dream, but I need to bring in some more income. So my husband helped me do the worst task imaginable. Woe is me. I made my first resume. I've been insanely fortunate in my life at 44 to never have had to make one. I have, I was a hairstylist for 20 years. I early on established a clientele so that I could just go somewhere and say, this is what I've got. And they wanted me, and it was I was very fortunate, and I built a solid career that way. And it was my proving ground where, you know, I at that point realized I was doing a lot more behind the chair than I was at first acknowledging myself. And then I wanted to do it more so with purpose and intent with individuals, instead of it just being done and they're not also doing it equally with intention. So then, you know, I have to write this resume now in my 40s. I've just started a new career, trying to really be available to people in this new capacity, which I've always been doing, but now see me and value me for it. And I had to build my confidence, you know, and it was just this like insane thing where I'm like, you've always been doing it. These are your innate abilities. But now I want to make sure that people believe me, that people will acknowledge and value me for it. And that's just like, you get caught up in this vicious insecurity loop, which writing the resume at first was this awful thing, this awful task. Then we get it done. And luckily, my husband has many talents himself, one of which is he went to art school, and graphic design is in his skill set. I mean, he's designed many of my graphics and whatnot, my cards, everything. So he had a template, and we ported my information into it. He made it all neat and just so, which I would not have paid attention to all those details. So bless his bones, he made it very beautiful. And I was proud of it. I was proud of it. I was. And I was like, look at me. I did that. Like, I, in the last, let's see, my son is 14 almost. So in that time period, you know, not only did I build myself up as a reputable hairstylist, I then, when my son was 1.5 years, my husband got laid off. I decided, all right, I have to take matters into my own hands. I had inherited $800 from my great-grandfather passing, so I took that $800 and a little bit more and created a hair salon. At the time, I was in a fit because it went from August to about November before it could be opened officially, and that just seemed like forever and a day. And then after the fact, looking back, I'm like, that was really fast. Oh my goodness. In this hair salon, I created an environment that I modeled after the farmers markets, where I wanted it to be a communal space where individuals could thrive. I had an ongoing art gallery where every 3 months, different artists would be shown, their artwork would be shown, and we would have an opening for them. I had different vendors selling things, you know, again, supporting a local community. Oh my God, I loved it. It was great. Then, you know, life happened. It got a little complicated. And then my son was going into kindergarten, and I was then, you know, divorced, and I couldn't do it all. I couldn't run a business, be a mother, then start school. I couldn't do every single thing. So then I was like, all right, let's not have a business anymore. Let's focus on my son and that aspect of our lives. So I went to work for someone else. You know, then a little while later, you know, about, I don't even know, 3 or so years, I went back to being an independent contractor. And then in 2019, I decided to open another salon with a friend called Haven, where then I was going to do hair and also start doing tarot and energy work and come out of my spiritual closet, you know. Then that kind of, we all know what happened then, you know, so then I had to like, all right, I saw this place as my heart and soul and where I wanted this to be. However, it's not practical and pragmatic to keep all things going in the current climate and circumstances. You're going to have to let some things go. So I let the physical brick and mortar go so that I could homeschool my son, weather the storm, and go online to meet people, because luckily my teacher, who also is a druid, had taught me to perform energy work via guided meditation. I would not have even thought that would be how I would have applied the art. But luckily, divine providence, that's how I learned. Then I met people online. And as you hopefully are feeling in this transmission, I have a calming, hopeful energy that I'd love to impart benefit to you in this, even in this conversation. Healing energy, even without my hands being up beforehand. You take what your higher self wishes to receive. I don't have to do overly much. Meeting with people, sharing space with them, not judging them, and being supportive of one another is a huge first step. I mean, there's more to my magic than that, but I'm just saying, if that were more the line we took, instead of being defensive, perhaps, it might be helpful. Anyway, thank you all for being here. That was my little about myself. If you have any questions, please chime in. If you have any requests, I'm happy to honor to a certain degree. So if you want me to read a card, if you want me to talk about anything in particular, if you have a question, hit me. Hit me with your best shot. Fire away. And in my cup, while I wait, I'll tell you. I can't show it to you because then I'll dump it on the computer. That would be dumb. It is espresso. My preferred espresso. It's not expensive. It's Cafe Bustelo. And then in the espresso pot basket, along with the espresso, I put orange peel, lavender flowers, and then I really do love me some pumpkin spice. It has a lot of wonderful spices in it, like clove, cardamom, cinnamon, nutmeg. Like, these things are great healing herbal whatnot remedies, along with having other properties that I personally adore. So, look into them if you like. But, this is the stuff that I do for myself daily, my own magic, if you will. There's a bird trying to get in to the window. Sorry. That seems... The divine is calling. They're trying to share space with us. Just kidding. Kind of. Anyway, I'm going to stop babbling. Anyone, please port something in to this or ask for a card. Let's get interactive. Na, 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 na. Let's get interactive with it. Na, 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 na. Or as I sing to my fig tree, let's get figgy with it. Na, 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 na. Come on, people. Talk to me. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Or I'll go. We don't have to. I don't have to make you talk to me. But I do kind of like, I'm that person. I'm like, hey, hi, talk to me. Nobody? You just like to make me just talk at you? Okay, you're always ready. Lydia, hit me. Do you want a card? Do you want to ask me a question? What do you want? And right now, Lydia is my favorite person. So I'm not saying that she won't continue to be, but all y'all, just say it. Come on. Follow Lydia's courageous jump into the pool. And I know there's a delay, so I have to be patient. I'm learning patience. Because I'm a bit of a racehorse. So I'm learning to trot. And it's funny, I knew that Lydia wanted a card, but I always like to be polite and wait. And I like interaction. All right. All right. I see. Let's see. Who do I want you to be? Forgive me. All right. All right, Lydia. You get to choose. Literary Witches Oracle, Animals, or Divining Poets Emily Dickinson. All right. We're going to do Literary Witches and Emily Dickinson because she falls into the category. So because you're my first victim, my first candidate, I will give you 2 cards. I love these cards, by the way. They have great texture to them, which I haven't met with so many cards out there that have texture, and I personally love that aspect. Oh, I love it. I know you want to see it. Sorry, that's so rude. Do 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 do. It is Mirabai Devotion. Devotion. And this card, oh my goodness, yes. I mean, this speaks of your heart immensely. We have the 2 blue hands being held by the divine, the music, that vibration, that healing. To me, this speaks of your creativity and how you work with your hands and the things you create. Oh, so beautiful for you. I love it. I love it. I love it. You can see this jewel on the forehead, denoting that intuition and the connection again to the divine and the higher realms and seeing beyond the veil. Now let me go to Emily and see what that mistress of magic has to say. Words are spells, people. And a witch, seeker of knowledge, healer. There are many different aspects and forms that word can denote. And again, we tend to vilify things sometimes throughout history that have their reasons in history and that we need to acknowledge address and heal, right? Mortality is fatal. Well, damn. Mortality is fatal. This is one of the things I love about Emily, because she is blunt and she is pithy. Woo! I'm like, girl, damn. Oh my. I love her. And there's something about her reclusivity and being alone in the woods in a I imagine it to be this lovely log cabin. I'm like, yes, take me there. So yeah, I want to have retreats like in that cabin in the woods where people get pithy with themselves. Mortality is fatal. And it's that when we get caught up in the motions of living, when we get caught up in the fear of survival, of the shoulds, then it can become that paralyzing trap. And you are not just this life, your soul is eternal. So, when we take ourselves a little bit off that clock and let ourselves exhale and be limitless, expansive, we feel more comfortable again, because that's more our true nature, right? So that Truman Show and different movies like that, The Matrix, it's not necessarily wrong. We do get caught up in the delusion and the illusions and the fear and the ego. And we don't have to kill the ego, because again, that's a little overly much, right? We have to balance the ego, the yin and the yang. So you're more than just this physical lifetime. I truly, truly, truly believe that. All right. So anyone else? Anyone? Because I will have to go soon, because I do have to work. Saturdays are a big day. But I like to come here and give you all a little piece of my heart, forever and ever and ever. And again, if you've known me for a while, like, I've always been this weirdo singing vaudevillian show tunes kind of gal. And it's, it is that cheer. There's a word. Oh, I'm going to probably misspell this. Hoakage. And it's a person who's a healer that's willing to be the clown, make people laugh. And laughter is the best medicine a lot of times. It's that, like, yes, let's confront it. Let's get down and pithy and like really work through those emotions. I am a little bit of that Iron Man of healers. Like, I really want to do that work, but you're doing it. Come on. I'm going to rub your shoulders, give you a little towel, smack you up a little bit, because sometimes you lie to yourself, and we're not going to have that. There's a lot of sides to this love. But at the end of it, I will hold space with you, hold you while you cry, and then make you see just how amazing you truly are, not out of toxic positivity, but out of, hello, you were made for a reason, beautifully. Get yourself together, figure out what your heart is saying, what your soul is fueling you to do. Let's do it. Because personally, even though we're taking ourselves off the clock, we're only here for a certain amount of time, so let's make best use of it. Just say it. All right, so if anyone else wants me to do something, I will certainly read a card or answer a question or what have you. But otherwise, I will go into my spiel. If you live in the Richmond, Virginia area, I have some events coming up. I'm going to have more details to come, because they're not all together fully sussed out. But on the 22nd of October at Arcane, which is at 123 Main Street, I will be doing an intuitive workshop where I talk a little bit like I have today about different intuitive abilities, and then we'll do some interactive play so that you can build your own relationship with your intuitive gifts. Because while, you know, I am available to do readings and all sorts of engagement activities with people to help them, I also really like teaching people how to help themselves. And again, I started getting into reading tarot and other forms of divination when I was 15 to self-soothe myself, to help connect myself to my own intuition, my guides, what have you. So the 22nd of October at Arcane, if you're interested, contact me. Check out Arcane, RVA. Also, first Friday in November, so November 4th, I will be doing what we're working out the details again, but this metaphysical roadshow psychometric event where you bring in an object for $10. You can sit up with me on stage and I'll read it for you. You don't have to sit on stage with me if you don't want to, but I will read the object. Now that can be, let's think portable, something ideally that I could hold. It could be a photograph. It could be an object. It could be, anything, family heirloom, something sentimental or something that you found, for instance, at Circle Thrift or any other thrift store or antique shop that you really just feel a great connection with. Bring it. I'll read it. Psychometry is the psychic reading of objects. And in some definitions, it's for factual information. Now, panminimism is the thought that people, places, things, objects hold memory through experience. That would be more sentimental, So, sometimes I'll get factual information. Sometimes I get more sentimental, like emotion. Sometimes I'll get a message depending on the relationship of the person to the object. Like, much like any conversation, they're not all the same. You don't spark with everyone and everything the same way. So there's a certain amount of variance. So yeah, 11/4, first Friday in November. Working out the time exact details, but that's coming up. So yeah, those are my two big events coming up. There are more in the works. I look forward to having whomever is available to come play there. Would anyone else like a card before I jump off this line for now? Anyone? I saw some wonderful people on here. Thank you for joining me, and all the rest of you who come later. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you. I love connecting with people. It is something I'm truly passionate about. I like genuine, authentic relationships. I'm here to make friends, but also be supportive if you are going through recovery of any sort, any sort of trauma, that's kind of my wheelhouse because I've had some experiences of my own. So I like helping people through anxiety or grief or these big gruesome emotions, because I like working hard. No, I don't know. I'm a Capricorn. I don't know why exactly, other than the fact that I have experienced it, and I want to show people how strong they are, and they're not necessarily just because they've been victimized, it doesn't mean that you have to stay in that victim mode. You can be your own hero or heroine. You can get yourself up, sometimes with a little help of a friend and a guide, but you can get yourself up out of that despair and that swamp. You can. So yeah, I'm passionate. I'm fierce. Anyway, no one else is wanting a card, so I'll just do a quickie little general reading. I've got the Spirit Animal Wisdom cards. I am on Patreon, and I am thinking of creating a very affordable circle for workshops if people are interested internationally. Let me know. I'm happy to create something and connect with you all out there that are further away. You let me know how we want to do it. If you want groups, we could do Zoom group meetings. We could do all sorts of things. So just, if you're interested, talk to me. All right, we got Leafcutter Ant, the Army of Life. Ask for help. Seek support. You are not alone. Thank you, Spirit, for furthering my statements. I love, love, love how this works. I love my job. I love what I do. I've learned to love who I am. It's taken a lot of help. But, work in progress. Work in perfection. And it does. It takes time. It takes steps. Ants, they take decisive, intentional steps to do an insane amount. I mean, seriously, if you don't appreciate the amount that ants can pull off, I feel like you're a bit narrow-minded. One more. Ooh, the crane. Yay. Surrender. Let go of limiting beliefs. Be as expansive in your thoughts as your soul is. Yes. Yes. Again, thank you, Spirit, for furthering my message. When I really started meditating, about 3 years ago or so, Spirit would talk to me, and still does, in riddles. Some people say, Spirit is your higher self speaking to yourself. Some people think that your guides are all your past lives here to offer you wisdom for this lifetime. There are many different ways of thinking about how you connect and what you connect to. But in that beginning time, they really liked to dangle little mind-blowing tidbits in front of me. I'd be like, what the holy fuck does that even mean? Pardon my French. But I'm like, what is an egg with wings? What does that mean? I'm a sacred vessel. I mean, that took me a long time to figure that one out, which is kind of embarrassing now. But then they told me, I am everything. I am nothing. I chewed on that one a long time. Then I furthered the statement to, I am everything and there's nothing outside of me. Then, finally, it dawned on me, what does that mean? I'm spirit. And that I was connecting to spirit. And again, if we are physical beings with an eternal spark inside of us, ... You fill in your blank. You tell me what that means to you. I look forward to talking to you. The ant, the crane, both beautifully sacred and important creatures within our ecosystem, just as you are. my friends. Also, if you personally would like to meet with me, I am available. If you have a business that you would like the space to be energetically blessed or cleared, there are many different aspects to my job. Businesses, homes, buildings, land, anything, pets. I work with pets too. I am here. If you like to work with me, I meet with people online. I meet with people in person, depending on the circumstances and situation. So the rainbow frequency 77@gmail.com is my email address. If you are on Instagram watching this, you can go to my bio. There's a book now feature. And in that, you can also, if you're on a phone, click in the left top corner of the rainbow icon to see all the different things I have for sale. I have intuition building sets, some of which have oracle cards in them, some of them don't. I have Reiki infused products, skincare, room sprays, rollerball scents, like all sorts of different applications to help people balance, purify, self-soothe, and be their best badass self possible in this chaotic world that we're learning to navigate and be a beautiful part of. So there you have it, my spiel. I'll give you one last chance for anyone to pop in and say anything else, and then if not, we'll wrap it up with 2 more cards. What archetype will best serve us en masse right now? Because again, if there's this oneness that we're all within, and we all are our own unique flavor in a big cosmic soup, we all have these archetypes that we can connect to within us. So what archetype best suit us? The riddle. That's funny, as I was just telling you about how spirit likes to talk in riddles. What are you the answer to? That's something that I really like that was proposed to me to think on. So I'll leave that one to you. Like we get all knotted up, we get all bound in our tension. And when we relax and get to know our truth, instead of being a knot in a bad way, it could be that Celtic knot, perhaps. That healing unity, that trifecta. It's a matter of perspective, right? And then we'll go to the moon as we are in that window of the full moon period. All right. First quarter waxing fire moon leaves competitiveness. I mean, seriously, you see me shuffle, you've heard me talk, and then, the cards. Oh, I'm putting away the book. I want the book. Listen to the spirit talk. Let's get metaphysical. Listen to the spirits talk. Just saying, this is why I do this. Because when you won't listen to yourself and what's coming in, and then you go to the cards and it gets repeated back to you, it's kind of hard to argue with it, isn't it? But that's also why, one time I went to a woman right before all of me coming out of the spiritual closet. I kept hearing the same message. I kept not wanting to believe the greatness in the message. And then I went and paid a woman to tell me psychically what I'd already heard. And I was like, why do we do that? And she's like, because we need to hear it sometimes externally. It is what it is. I was like, you're right. Okay. I won't beat myself up for not listening to myself. But it's just, unfortunately, our human aspect sometimes keeps us small. All right. When the moon moves to the first quarter in fire, 90 degrees from the sun, its face is half dark, half light, and everything is held in balance. However, for the fire element, that is not enough. This phase produces a strong urge to push ahead, to bring things to your advantage. It encourages the desire to win. I mean, that is the energy of this Aries moon, if you want to put it in a nutshell. When this card is in the current moon, no, never mind. I always read that part. It's not really necessary. This is the most aggressive of the first quarter phases. It's a time when the urge to defeat any and all opposition in order to make progress is taken to the extreme. Again, check yourself before you wreck yourself in this Aries energy. There is an expectancy that all opposition will fall aside in favor of your obvious worth. You know you have a kind of divine right to succeed. Yes. But humble pride. And as a friend of mine, Rick, pointed out, you don't have to be worried about being prideful if it's that humble pride, which is confidence. So thank you, Rick, for those wonderful words of wisdom. In the search for the truth, you now see the light ahead. If you have to tread on a few toes and bump a few shoulders in the rush, so be it. Getting there is what's important. Yes and no. Again, balance. I am, of all things, a huge promoter of that yin and yang. So keep yourself in balance, in check, in that heart space. Like sometimes, yes, you have to push forward to get yourself where you're going, sure, but do it in a loving, compassionate way, that integrity and grace. Personally, like I want to live in right action with proper discernment, integrity, and grace. And in my job, there's sometimes where I have to say things that are really uncomfortable and I don't want to. Like I've had to really work towards not being afraid when I'm working with clients, because if the message is coming through, I have to honor the message, but I have to also say it with compassion and love so it doesn't hurt them, right? Like that's, and there's the yin and the yang, and how in that balance, there's that growth and that fruitfulness. See the leaves? Oh, and that pink is representative of, to me, Mother Mary or Isis, or that energy has many names. But that pink is unconditional love. Some people will, Shamuel, Archangel Shamuel. And if I don't say that properly, I'm sorry. But unconditional love for yourself and for your environment and the people you encounter. Have healthy boundaries. Have proper self-care. You can't serve from an empty or dirty cup. Anyway, on that note of motherly advice, You came here as you are, as you were meant to be. So pay attention. Lean into it. Who are you? What do you have to offer? How does it feel good to put it out there in the world? What feeds your soul? What nourishes you? What do you love? Journal on those talking points. And again, I'm here. Best wishes. All the love. What are you the answer to? What is your truth? Within your DNA, within your blood, there's so much. Best wishes. All the love. Be well holistically for yourself